Beginning transmission 128. Mara, file under sports ball.
Come on, you fuckers think that just because a guy reads comics he can't work shit? I'll fucking take all you want!
Welcome to this week's episode of the Funny Books and Firewater Podcast.
面白い本と歌手ポッドキャストの今週のエピソードへようこそ。
Ignore her. She drinks.
Each week, a motley band of comic readers / amateur bartenders attempt to pair cocktails with comic books.
毎週漫画の読者の雑多なバンドはスラッシュアマチュア入札しようと漫画とペアカクテルバーです。
All while trying to not sound like complete morons in the
すべ
process.
ての中にしようとして音ではないような完了プロセスで低能です。
Kind of like a speakeasy kind of thing. It's kind of cool.
You can find these idiots on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr.
Facebook、Twitter、Instagram や Tumblr にこれらのバカを検索できます。
No, what?
You read too many comic books.
We now join Brian, Jeremiah, Adam, and Todd.
They're used to curious sights which they attribute to alcoholic delusions.
They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
I'm too sober for this shit. Here is a drinking game to play while you listen to this episode. Please drink responsibly, and don't take it too seriously. And if you don't like it, blame William.
Take a drink anytime Mr. Porg decides to interject himself into the conversation. Shut up, Porg.
You need to take a drink anytime Manny Bothands makes an appearance, and I get groans and fuck yous from Adam and Maya.
Fuck Manny Bothands!
Manny Bothands is pure genius. Take a drink anytime someone refers to me as the cum dumpster.
Take a drink every time the Shame Bell makes an appearance.
Also, take a drink anytime we act like the member berries from South Park. Remember when they were on South Park?
I remember.
Yeah, and take a drink every time we do the bad German accent, yeah.
Drink, fucker!
If you have any suggestions for rules you would like to add, email us at funnybooksandfirewater@gmail.com or use the contact link on our website, funnybooksandfirewater.com.
So I spent too much on my most recent in-stock purchase.
Mm-hmm.
I only got 5 books. Does that make it okay?
No, because knowing you probably got, like, big omnibuses of things.
I got 5 absolutes.
Uh-huh, okay.
So
What are those?
It's that oversight. You know Maya's big-ass edition books?
Oh, okay.
The big-ass edition books. I got Preacher in absolute, and then the Wonder Woman's in absolute from Cliff Chang. He's the guy that drew Paper Girls.
Oh, okay.
So he did about 50 issues of Wonder Woman with Azzarello. And then Preacher in absolute. So it's...
Now, do you have individual trades of Preacher right now?
I do. So I'm actually looking to potentially offload them or gift them and curse and gift someone with it. Because Preacher is an absolute gateway drug to the world of comics, of how awesome and crass and
I still need to
amazing
finish
it
Preacher.
is.
I think I'm on like book 6.
Well,
Preacher's fun.
I've got 1 through 9 that I'm not going to be needing. So the problem with absolutes and any hardcovers or general omnibuses is you're not laying down in bed holding it. They're too big and awkward for that. So that's not really something, but I mean, it's higher quality paper stock and it's just big ass imagery. So if the art is good, the art looks amazing. I'm going to be kind of interested to see how Preacher comes, because though I enjoyed the art, it was nothing, it's a little bit cartoony and it's nothing crazy detailed.
Yeah.
So that might be a little bit interesting. But, you know, on the same thing, I would say the same of Chang's work on Wonder Woman. Like his Paper Girl stuff, it's very stylized and it's good for it, but it's none of this, I'm not going to say it's the anti-Alex Ross, but it's on a different playing field.
Yeah, well, Preacher is definitely a product of its time. You can tell. You can see, oh, this was written like, what, 93 or was it, or something like that?
Yeah, I was coming through there, but it's you know, it's a special place in my heart. I mean, he wrote that. He did Hellblazer for a long time. Preacher came out with he and the artist were doing, still Steve Dillon and Garth Ennis were doing Hellblazer. Instead of doing a subplot for Hellblazer of this, they decided to make it its own series. So but they were already on Vertigo with Hellblazer, and then they had this idea. But no, it's awesome. I hear like season 3 is really picking up and becoming great finally.
Yeah, I own season 1. I think I might even own season 2, but
I
liked it overall, but it just didn't feel like
it was fine.
Yeah, it wasn't anything like special or outstanding. It was just kind of like, it was there.
It was there, and then I'm hearing reviews on. I haven't watched any of season 2 at all, but I hear season 3 is really picking up.
So, question: so the TV show Lucifer, is that the same one from Sandman?
Yeah, same source material.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay, cool. Yeah, because that's one I've heard is really, really good, and I know
I watch the TV show Lucifer a lot. I'm a big fan of it.
Netflix picked up season 4, and I think is it 1 through 3 on there, or is it Hulu?
I don't know.
I think it was Hulu. I've been watching it on Hulu, so I want to be surprised if it ends up on Netflix since they pick up season 4. But it was Lucifer was one of the, made by Warner Brothers, airing on Fox, so it was expensive for Fox to keep airing, so it got the cut when they were looking to cut a bunch of stuff. So, but they changed it quite a bit for the TV show. I mean, there's elements that are absolutely there, and a lot of the nouns are the same. But this weekly procedural with the devil. But the conceit is the same. But, it's fun. It's fine.
I still need to finish Sandman too. So
no, and Sandman. It's great. I've been working on Sandman too. But it is, I can see why Neil Gaiman's been. So Gaiman's coming to town to the Eccles Theater.
Mm-hmm. I want to go, but I don't have money right now.
I want to go. I haven't bought tickets yet, and the cheap seats are now about $100.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
I have the season. I'm a season pass holder, so I should see because I get discounts on stuff sometimes.
You want to go?
Yeah, I'll take a look. I'll look and see what.
You have a discount. I'll buy it for both of us.
Cool. I will look. Remind me after this is over so I can hop on there. Actually, our first show is like in 2 weeks. We haven't gotten our tickets yet.
That's worth looking into.
I think our first show is Waitress.
Oh.
I bought a flex pass for PTC this year. There was only 3 shows I was kind of interested in.
They're doing Sweeney Todd, are they?
They're doing Sweeney Todd. So I'm doing Oslo, which is actually their first play.
Richie's in that.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
And Sweeney Todd, and then The Lion in Winter.
Oh, okay.
I don't care to see. Their big musical of the year is Grace.
Are they doing Once again?
And they are doing Once.
Once is like one of the best things I've ever seen on stage. I love it. And so what happens is
now here's the trick of my follow-up to Once. I have a kid due at the beginning of December. So my January through February, March.
Oh, it's all fucked.
It's fucked. Let's just start with that assumption. Having one of us being able to get away in the evening to do this sort of thing is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Having both of us have a date night out for the first 12 weeks, probably not so much.
Uncle Brian will fly out and watch The Little Bastard.
So we've actually we haven't settled on a name. We've got a name in running that I think Brian would quite appreciate.
What's that?
It's you've heard the first one, but I was trying to do it.
I think it should be Danger. So the Danger could be her middle name.
I brought up Crime Fighter because that's what Penn Jillette did.
That's true.
His daughter's name is Moxie Crime Fighter.
Yeah. And then who is it? Jason Lee, his daughter, I think it's son is Pilot Inspector.
Pilot Inspector.
But is this like SPECTRE?
I don't know. I don't know much more than that. I haven't paid enough attention to celebrities' children's spelling of names.
I mean, you've got Apple and this other stuff.
Blue.
Yeah. The other one we have in running, which we've had forever, is...
Oh, okay.
By the way, that one shouldn't be on the air.
Are you keeping a secret from the family? Is that
Absolutely.
why it's not
Because I am doing the most ridiculous names, and I have people nervous because I'm just completely straight-faced about these ridiculous names.
So it's not that you're keeping a secret like you're doing a big reveal. It's just like, you don't want me to take away your ability to fuck with people.
That's right.
Okay. I'm just verifying what that
is. Well, all of Amy's siblings and whatnot, they were also secretive and going, we're not telling you a kid's name. We don't want any input. So... And I'm the kind of guy that says, I'm going to be taking surveys, and I'm going to probably ignore this information, but I'll take all the input and say, you suck, but I'll listen.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of turning it on its head, and they're like, what names are you thinking? And I'm like, Fibonacci, or I kind of like that one. Or my dad says, like, well, what about Hortense? And I'm like, that is a truly awful name.
It really is. I can't believe your dad made that as a real suggestion.
Well, he talked about that was his mother's childhood friend. So it's not a made-up name. It was someone's actual
I know it's not a made-up name, but it's one of those things where it's like, logically speaking, just think about it for 5 seconds of what a kid named Hortense is going to get called in high school and junior high and elementary school. That's the thing. once you're an adult, you can kind of deal with that shit, but you got to think about what that kid's going to have to deal with as a child.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what
I mean, my uncle wanted to name the business Pilkington Metal Services, which sounds all fine and dandy.
Until the acronym.
Until the acronym's PMS. And he's like, what's wrong with that? And you're like, don't do that.
Well, okay, but like, there's this weird thing I was telling someone, I was actually mentioning it to somebody when I was going to the Rob Zombie Con yesterday, that Utah in general, they just don't, either they're just too naive or they don't think about any negative connotations with anything, that like they always have the, like when we have like dance groups that come out, almost every Utah group has at least one song we say you can't play that song because they don't understand. Like a lot of times it's like a rap song or whatever, they don't understand what the lyrics are. Like they're like too fucking stupid or
what's
naive
wrong
to realize
with,
like that.
I want to lick you from your ass to your clip.
I know, right?
With that statement.
It just reminds me of a Dave Chappelle bit when he's talking about that song "Get Low." He's like, "Skeet, skeet, skeet." He's like, "They say skeet, skeet, skeet on the radio. They can't say that." It's like, you know why they say it? White people don't know what it means.
Yep, it's true. Damn white people.
I would say Utah's the whitest state in America, but I think that's Minnesota.
I don't think so. Minnesota had Prince.
Yeah, I think I installed the one black guy I came across. I was there for 3 summers. And I found one black guy. One.
I am shocked by how many white people there are in Utah when I go there. Like it's almost unnerving of how white it is. Like, and as a white person, it scares me just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I go there and I'm like, there is literally no fucking diversity here. Like, it's
they're
weird.
all recovering Ziontologists.
Ziontologists? Oh, right. You can't.
That's a new word.
Is that the new word?
Well, you can't say Mormon, and the fuck am I going to say 15 words to describe them when one will do?
I just thought it was funny when Richie from Radio from Hell went on. It was like, it's offensive. It's like saying the N-word. So my new thing now is Mormon, please.
Mormon, please. It's like saying the N-word. As they're painting over the word Mormon, I'm a Mormon at the NTC. It's so offensive. And I'm like, dude.
Are they really doing that?
Yeah, because there's like an I'm a Mormon, that huge campaign.
Yeah.
Shots of them painting over that. So it's like, oh, it's offensive while they're still like busy trying to eliminate it from all of their propaganda. I mean, it's the Mormon newsroom is their PR department.
Yeah.
They have yet to change. They're going, oh, it's an offensive term for us.
Well, we've
called it ourselves.
We've always been at war with East Asia.
That's right. So.
Actually, that's a book you guys should do for Hooligans, 1984.
What? Yeah, it's one of the ones I really want to do. It's actually one of the books that inspired me to do it. That's part of the reason why we started with Anthem. Because it's a very similar book.
A precursor to 1984, but very similar in themes.
Mm-hmm.
So doing that one so quick is a bit of...
Do you guys have Slaughterhouse 5?
We're doing Cat's Cradle next.
Okay. Yeah, we are doing Cat's Cradle next. No, it's definitely on our list. I mean, because I have personally, Slaughterhouse 5 is one of my favorite books of all time, so I have bought that in almost every format imaginable. Like,
it has forever changed the asterisk for me.
Exactly. Which is a beautiful thing about that book.
It really is. Like, I see an asterisk. It even makes me so I'll glance at a keyboard and just look above that number 8, and I'm like, asshole. So,
well, if you turn the 8 sideways, it's infinity, so it's asshole infinity.
The infinity asshole.
Right.
Challenge accepted.
You got to beat out Trump for that. So.
I don't remember what episode number this is, but this is the end of our month of sports ball comic books, so we can stop pretending like we know anything about sports. We know a little bit, but not a lot of real sports. But so this week we are reading Mara from Image Comics.
Mara!
Is it Mara? Mara? Is it Mara? I guess it is Mara.
Mara, Mara.
Okay. Anyway, correcting my grammar, we have Mr. Well, actually, no, it's my pronunciation. Correcting my pronunciation, we have Mr. Todd.
Hi, I'm Todd. You can find me here on the Funny Books and Firewater podcast as a co-panelist. I'm also on English Class Hooligans with my better half, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy. And then I'm just here in Salt Lake. If you see me, come say hi. Having a good time. Yep.
And, of course, also in Salt Lake, hanging out with Mr. Todd, we have Mr. Adam.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I do stuff with Big Shiny Robot. Occasionally, the Board is Hell podcast with Andy Wilson.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Andy.
You can also find me over on Cinema Queens with our good friend Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris. And then curating our Grindr, Scruff, and Tights with the Z accounts. So
that's where I saw it.
What?
So I talked about... No. I don't know if you ever watched it, but I sent you that video of... a friend of mine informed me that there is a goth drag show called Dragula.
Sounds kind of awesome.
It has some of the most quotable moments. I just watched the trailer for season 2. It was sort of like a red carpet event, and they had like a video from the red carpet event for season 2. And on the stop and talk, or the background, where everyone does their photo location type thing, it was one of the sponsors was Scruff, and I'm like, I know that's like a gay dating site, but I'm like, I don't remember where or why I know that, and then of course I realized like that's where it is. But my favorite quote from that little video is, I believe a winner of Dragula should be able to blow the lacrosse team and still make the gig on time, was the quote. It was like, that video cracked my ass up. So like, it's pretty extreme. So yeah, I'm going to watch it at some point in time, but I think it's on Vice Network is what I was told.
All right.
I think.
I'll check it out. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I think you were drunk the night I texted you about it. So, but I sent you a link to that video. It's probably way back in your conversation somewhere. But there's a link to the video there. But anyway, and hey, I'm Brian. I'm a sound designer in Southern California. And just doing shit. So, getting into it. Okay, this week's book is Mara. Is that how we're saying it?
Mara, like Kara or Tara or Sarah. Mara.
Okay. Mara. Okay, so this book is Mara. It's about basically she's supposed to be like 16, 19, somewhere in there.
She's like 17?
Yeah, 17.
Yeah, she's like 17. She's like 17-year-old. It's in the future, and she is the greatest volleyball player known to man, and sort of as the world has gotten shitty, sports have become more important because people are distracted by them, and she starts to manifest superpowers, and that's basically where the book starts. That's their nice spoilery preview for it. But of course, with every book that we read here, we need a drinking game.
And now for sports.
Listen up, sports fans. Prepare yourself and your liver for this week's drinking game. Remember, it's only a game, and a dumb one at that. So don't take it too seriously, and above all else, please drink responsibly.
So, Mr. Todd, what is your drinking game?
So my drinking game was he watching Akira while he wrote this?
Okay.
So it really plays into more of the end of the book as you're watching this.
Yeah.
Someone had a man crush on Akira, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Okay, so every time you're questioning whether or not, or every time you're seeing connections between Akira?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Mr. Adam.
Mine is, it's over 9,000! So every time she develops new superpower.
Okay.
And then most people will get what that reference is, so.
I don't know if I completely get what that reference is.
It's from Dragon Ball Z.
That's right.
Oh, I definitely don't get that reference.
They have whole episodes where they're just like drawing in their power, so it all looks like they're trying to squeeze out a turd.
I've seen the images of that, but I am not familiar with Dragon Ball Z.
Like Dragon Ball Z is fun, but like you'll literally have like 5 episodes where they're just powering up to fight, which then the fight takes like 2 seconds.
That's kind of a bummer, man.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard
filler episodes.
Yes.
The original filler episode.
So my drinking game rule is, oh brother, where art thou? Take a drink every time the word brother appears. That one is actually more evil than you're
gonna. That is. I want to talk to my brother. No. We'll kill him if you try to talk to him.
Yeah, where's my brother?
That is a threat.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's okay, I'm your brother. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so anyway. There's a lot of that there. Okay, cool. So, since we've had a little bit of failure in the past, we'll go individually, just quickly, yay or nays, on whether or not we believe that it is worth our dear listeners' hard-earned time, money, and effort to go hunt this book down, sit down, and read it. Mr. Adam.
Yes.
Todd.
Yeah.
And I'll go with a yeah. Cool. Well then, I mean, Todd, you're the one who had read this before the rest of us when we recommended this. Is there any other forewarnings you think people should have before heading into this book?
I mean, not too much. I mean, the trade, it's one and done. So if you buy the trade, it's the story in its entirety, and that's it. So the great thing about it is you just buy this one volume, and it's everything in it. And you don't need to know anything beforehand. And if you've seen the movie Akira, you kind of have an idea of what's to come.
Spoiler alert.
That's right. So yeah, no, it's good fun. I've always had a hard on for Brian Wood's writing for a long time. So I originally picked it up. It's like, what else has this guy written? He wrote this. I'll get that.
Yeah, because
those things.
I recently finished up his entire run on DMZ. And really enjoyed his work there. What else has he done?
So he did DMZ has been his big one. The Massive is another one he's been working on. He did Northlanders. There's 7 volumes of that. Black Road is another one. It's like Viking stuff going on there. He Supermarket was another one of his. I'm just naming off titles, but DMZ has been definitely his largest work to date. We read his Alien Defiant was written by Brian Wood, so we did that volume on the show. So he does a lot of writing for hire. Is that sort of thing. I mean, he does his own personal stuff. He does a original called Demo he did a while back that I rather enjoyed. A bit of slice of life going on. But he writes characters well. I mean, if you read DMZ and it's 12, 13 trades? I think it's 13 trades.
It's 12 trades.
12 trades. And it's it's coherent. I mean, he goes off in side stories for a bit, but he comes back to the main line, and it's he does a good job of tying everything together at the end. And at the same time, it's satisfying, and yet not everyone's happy. Yeah. So he writes that sort of thing well. I mean, he did a run on Robotech most recently as well for a trade or two. So he's always working, but he doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot with the big two.
Oh, is he more independent now?
Well, even Vertigo is a semi-independent. I mean, it's an imprint of DC, but he doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't do a lot with the mainline superhero stuff. So
maybe it's just not his bag. I think if I were to be a comic book writer, I think I would, other than maybe Batman, I don't know if there's a lot of main characters I'd want to write. And even then, I think that I would probably shy away from Batman because I don't know if I'd want that kind of pressure. You know what I mean?
No, it's a crazy pressure. You're watching the world of comics today, and with like Image and whatnot, and these whole deals. Like Brian K. Vaughan is the perfect example. I would say none of his best stuff falls under the main big two banners, but he's written for Marvel and DC. He wrote a few issues of Batman. I mean, he did Doctor Strange. He did some X-Men. His probably most best big two stuff would be Runaways, and that was the one he created on his own. So for Vaughn, and then you've got your Saga, which has been this huge thing. He's got Paper Girls, and even before that, Why the Last Man, which is Vertigo. Vertigo kind of Image just beat out the ownership rights of what Vertigo was offering. So all the cool stuff that was happening at Vertigo kind of evaporated, and Image took it over.
Also their main publisher who was picking all that stuff, she moved on as well.
Yeah, Karen Berger left, so she's with Dark Horse now.
Oh, that's interesting.
Sorry, I'll stop bloviating.
No, you're not.
No, but that might make sense because there's a.
Sure.
I've been on a reading kick for Matt Kint.
Yeah.
Who has a similar vibe to Jeff Lemire, which is why I've been reading it. And a bunch of his stuff is actually published through Vertigo or through Dark Horse, and I'm wondering if that's part of her doing or not.
It could. Yeah, she's got her own imprint with Dark Horse. Dark Horse. Dark Horse. Berger's books.
Sounds like you're doing a Medea impersonation.
I know. I need to stop. That's what happens when I come in and drink a little too much before we begin. So that's why I'm so chatty. So enjoy it, people.
Enjoy Chatty Todd. Rock on.
That's where I'm at.
Cool. Well, then we're gonna go get another drink in Chatty Todd and take a little bit of a break. And when we get back, this is your spoiler warning. So here's your chance to go and read the book if you haven't done so already. And we will see you on the flip side.
Bye.
Hey.
If you have yet to read this week's book and would like to read it now, press pause. Go ahead. We'll wait.
When you have kids, it's almost impossible to find time to catch up on all your geeky obsessions. Comic books, TV, movies, games. We get it. Geek Parenting Podcast understands your pain, and we are here for you. We're geeky parents just like you, and we come together once a week to talk about what it's like to raise your little geeklings while staying true to your fandoms. New episodes every week. Find Geek Parenting Podcast wherever you consume your podcasts. Follow us on social media at Geek Parenting Podcast. Sorry, Stefan.
Oh my.
I said it's a problem.
Whoa! Holy fuck balls. Fuck, I'm impressed.
Are you, though? I'm a little ashamed.
I will fully admit you make me feel a little bit better about my recent purchases.
Does that make sense? So, like we were at your comic book store and I bought one book. It's like, oh, Todd's holding back. I'm like, am I? I'm not sure I can say that.
I mean, between my most recent purchase on in-stock trades and then a few of the books I've gone to buy, I felt like I've been going a little off the wagon just a little bit, and
dude, that's just
diving into the deep end.
Yeah, you see there though, I was like holding out. I did one, then a week later, then I held off for 2 weeks, then I held off for like 3 weeks, then I held off for a month.
Oh, I didn't even look at the time frame.
Yeah, I thought that.
Right.
Oh my god.
Look at that.
Wow.
Todd's got a bit of a problem. I recognize this. I need a.
It's a 12-step program.
I recognize it. I'm not sure I want to. I recognize I have a problem. I'm not in denial it's a problem. I'm not sure I care to stop yet, but I should.
Wow.
Right? There's nothing that really sobers you up going, oh, and this is exactly what you spent. And you're just like, fuck.
Yeah, it is sort of a kind of a terrible thing. Like, I don't think I'd want to see it on Amazon. You know what I mean? Of like,
no,
hey,
this is
how much money
terrible.
you spent on Amazon.
I can't believe they're actually doing it this way. I have no problem with this is your history of your orders. But if you have it in a spreadsheet like this so much, it really masks it somehow in stock. Because
I'm wondering if they tend to sell to like small bookstores and comic shops or something to that effect. You know what I mean?
I don't think so. Because I was looking at... Because I've toyed with the idea you and I have talked about. It's you can do one-time orders through Diamond Publishing too. Without issue. It's like you want to do a one-time order, email us and we'll talk. If you're an existing business type of a deal. And I can't imagine in-stocks exist to make money. And even if they buy in high volume, there's still margin there. And they have enough margin to keep it going. So it's... Yeah, as I'm looking at this here, even now, I'm willing to bet they're still making 10-15% off of people like me.
Yeah.
If not 20. So... Yeah, so they're doing fine, but if there's a 20% markup to begin with, and I'm a retailer, I'm just going to go to the distributor and distributor themselves, and I'm not going to pay that extra markup in between. It's a needless middleman. But looking at this, you can see why I've toyed the idea of, I wonder what I can do to have my own Diamond Publishing account. So.
Well, I've wondered, and there's not really a good way of doing it, but because you have a tendency to get bigger volumes of things, I almost wish that I could keep track of how many issues I had compared to you, because I feel like I have more trades, but I think we might have an equal amount of actual issues of comic.
Well, I passed you with the purchase of Infinite Crisis Omnibus.
Oh, yeah, okay. Because how many issues is that?
It's 1,200 pages. It's 3 inches thick is the volume.
Oh my god, yeah.
It is a fucking ginormous. So if you even think about it, so at 1,200 pages, divide that by 22, which is your typical issue.
Yeah.
That's 54 issues. Divide that by 6. That's 9 trades in one book.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just stupid. It's too big. I looked at this and I was like hearing things as there are procedures to relax the binding of omnibuses so you don't break them. Prior to reading them, there are things you must do with the book so you don't crack and break the binding because the binding is so thick. And I'm like, this is fucking retarded.
Did they send you instructions for that?
No, I just go down rabbit holes.
You looked it up?
I like, I watch too many YouTube videos because I'm 12. And people's like, oh, DC sucks, their bindings break, and you see others in the comments going, well, you need to relax the binding first. And I'm like, what's this fucking relax the binding? How do I relax the binding?
It's when you hear the safe word.
Right. Peaches.
Jeeper.
Yeah, there's that one right there. And then like, how the fuck do you relax the binding? And then they go through this whole process. I'm like, to do this with this Infinite Crisis Omnibus, it's going to take like 10 minutes. Because you're like, I'm going to explain it. You start out by having the book with the binding itself against the flat of the table, and then you open the very front cover and the back cover while holding all of the inner pages straight up. And then while alternating the back of the pages to the front of the pages, you move like 10 or 20 at a time, slowly putting them down until you're down in the dead center and everything's down. If you and you have to do that depending on the size of the book a couple of times, so you can relax the binding, so the glue doesn't rip apart, and you have all this like, oh, this book sucks. The glue separated on my binding, and I can't believe they made this piece of shit. The answer is you've got to break it in first.
Hey, look, digital comics.
You know, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was the best thing I ever did was buying a Kindle, because I had so many dozens of books when I moved a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. And then honestly, I guess took them all and donated them to like Savers or something like that. But it was like 2 carloads.
I thought it was very freeing, and yet crying, I would cry and then be free afterwards.
Yeah, but then I got my Kindle, and every now and then you buy a book if it's like a book that needs like
sure,
the Broadway books, ones on movies or so that have like a lot of pictures you want to flip through. But for the majority of everything else, it's all digital now. So
yeah, all right. Shall we jump back in?
Let's jump back in. Who knows how much of that we kept in?
Actually, there was a great instructional video by Todd there.
It really was, actually. I mean, really, I don't know if that started with the horror of me seeing how much Todd has spent recently.
It is. I'm glad we haven't actually spoken it, because as it comes through, my wife's under the impression I spend more on ammunition than I do on books. And I'm like, that might be true.
It's not, but it might be.
It might be true. It's not that far off. How's that? So my 2 hobbies is shooting 9mm and buying comic books. So, yeah.
Sometimes at the same time.
Also, it's true.
So what I do is I bring out Bobobo. You know, and so here's the downside of digital. When you get truly pissed that you bought this book, I can shoot the paper one and feel better about myself.
True.
I bought digitally Nut Job, which I feel bad about, because now I can't shoot it, because there's no way in good Lord's fuck I'm going to pay money for a physical copy for that thing now.
Well, what you could do is when you get a new phone, you could load that up on your old phone and then shoot your phone.
Yeah, not as satisfying. I mean, I want to be able to like shoot the name out of whoever wrote that garbage.
Nut Job. I don't think we've heard of that one.
That was
the Deadpool book.
Deadpool. Okay.
That was the Deadpool book we did. We all universally thanked Brian for.
And I still am guilty and still apologize for it, yes.
Yeah, fuck you, Brian, for making me read that.
Yeah, I deserve that one.
Okay, there you are. See? Chatty Todd.
Yep, there you go. Okay, well, so Chatty Todd, since you very rarely do this, do you want to give us the summary of the book? I mean, if you're going to be chatty, we might as well make you do it.
So, I'll summarize this. We'll see how bad it goes. I take full effort of that. So the lead character, the title of the book is called Mara by Brian Wood, drawn primarily by Ming Doyle. So Mara this is a future set society, and Mara was born and raised to be an athlete starting at 6 years old, much like the Spartans of yore. And she is a volleyball player like none other, kind of like how the Lakers were Kobe's team. Mara was the team. It was Mara, and then the rest of the backup. I guess it was more LeBron. LeBron's even worse about that. You have LeBron, who takes all of the money, and then you have all the base rate people because there's no budget left. So that's Mara here in volleyball. So she's amazing. She's awesome. And one day she doesn't do so well. She like passes out or has some sort of episode. And she's starting to show she has some powers beyond what's normal. The government gets interested. They want to turn her into a weapon. She's not quite so interested in that. She rebels, and there's a bit back and forth. And at the end of it, she's flying off and says, "See ya, suckers. I'm leaving this place." And that's pretty much the summary of the book, right?
Pretty succinct, yeah.
Yeah. So that was going on. So yeah, the military went, "Ooh, you're special. We shall use you as a weapon in their greatest time of need. Besides that, we're going to lock you up." And she's like, "Homie, don't play that."
There's a little subplot in there where like they let people believe that she's died, and
and they hold the life of her brother over her head, saying that
you don't
do what we want, then we'll kill him, and then he's already dead. So
yeah, he's been died, but it's like, if we can prevent you from knowing that he's died, we can still use him as leverage. And she doesn't play that game, so she opted to. There was a space colony effort to go into deep space, and she hitches a ride at the end and says, "See ya," and off she goes.
And she pulls a Dr. Manhattan and just pieces the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you do.
Like you do, but I mean, that's pretty much the story. So on the cover of this book, it says Akira, Hunger Games, and Superman collide.
Yeah.
Blurb, and you know, that's fine. As it's going into it, you've got Mara. I mean, it's a nice girl power book in its own way. I mean, it's she's a lead. It's the lead character happens to be a girl. Her gender, I don't really think. At the end of the day, it's the gender in and of itself's not.
Well, and they kind of drop hints that she's a lesbian.
Yes.
Well, they don't drop hints.
It's there. Yeah.
She's fully there. She's in a relationship with her teammate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's a lesbian, and she doesn't know her parents much anymore. So she's close with her brother, who's a military dude, off in nonstop wars.
Because they were twins, right?
I think so.
I think so. They were twins. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, he's older.
He's older. Okay.
Okay.
But stay close with the brother. They talk when they can. So she's super famous, talking with her brother, who's probably the only one that really treats her as, you know, kid sister. So, yeah, as it's going through here, and she just finds there's not a place for her left, and she doesn't. As she has more and more powers manifest, I mean, she gets full of invulnerability. She can fly. She's getting telekinesis, and a bit of
she can change matter.
Changing matter around. She's really becoming a mini Dr. Manhattan or Akira of things going on, and her connection is she's looking at the people on Earth and realizing they're kind of ants to her, and it's the so there's a ants to her, and often she just snopes out her understanding, or the big things in those people's lives all of a sudden become very small to her, and it's in her way. So there's this general concept called the explanatory gap. It's like the challenges. If you have a person that's blind and been blind their whole life, describe to them what the color red is and have them understand what the color red is and means. It's just kind of impossible to get there. And especially going, well, how is green different from red? And get what that means. You can't really get there with someone that's been blind. And so that gap in understanding is the explanatory gap. It's just, I can try and tell you, but until you experience it yourself, everything is just a shadow of what it actually is. So as her powers and understanding and ability to relate to anything that tied her down, as those grew and her tied her down disappeared, she lost connection. And she's like, why am I still here? Life will be better if I just go right on out.
Yeah.
I've been feeling like that a lot too.
Well, I mean,
so
I guess, this is a totally different thing, but like, in that perspective, though, if someone's completely blind, why would they need to understand what red and green are? I'm not exactly sure the context of that. I mean, I understand the idea of it, of the explanatory gap, but I guess I'm just sort of sitting there going, okay.
No, I guess here it is with Mara, as things have grown, and she's introducing new powers are being introduced to her all the time.
Yeah.
And we're seeing, but there's probably also other things going on that has evolved or expanded in her own mind to account for these. Are there other things as a writer? How do you account for these other things as well?
Oh, I get that.
So
yeah. Okay.
You've got Brian Wood with the challenge of his own explanatory gap to the reader of how can I show and get the reader to understand the growth and the evolution this character is going through. And I really see that as some of the biggest challenges. I mean, as our dear friend Tyson would go through, is like, that movie's a mind fuck.
Yeah.
Like the movie Brazil kind of broke him.
Yeah, a little bit.
And a little bit, among other things. But as with the mind fuck, is I do not grok this. I'm trying to understand, and it's just, it stays with you. How do you as a writer express that existentialism as they were going through with things that we can't hope to understand? Or even the writer probably doesn't, but how do you express that across? And I find that to be fascinating. And that's where that Akira, when they say Akira meets Hunger Games, is you've got this star child as such of this absolute next stage of evolution that you just can't get across there. And it's, I mean, this is another very similar story to Childhood's End. Or even 2001 in some ways, but it's actually quite close to mirrors Childhood's End. that was kind of fun as well back in the day. By
Well, I mean,
what was that? Arthur C. Clarke.
The Superman sort of aspect also. I mean, the Superman learns this. I mean, what makes him interesting is he has these spectacular powers, but he has a humanity that was instilled from him, from his, from the Kents, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting because what really, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, the interesting critique of this is the manufacturing of her as a sports star. That sort of humanity is not in her. You know what I mean? Like, she's taken away from humanity, and like to a certain extent, she expresses like concern for the well-being of younger volleyball players coming up and whatever. So like, it's not that she's necessarily a bad person, has no humanity at all, but she's been isolated so much that her connection with humanity, I think, is severely severed. I think that like
it's tenuous.
Yeah, tenuous. So I think that if she was in a situation where perhaps she was raised by her parents the entire time, and her brother was still around and she still had that connection with him, I don't think you would see her flying off and saying, fuck this, I don't see it. I think that's also what you see with Dr. Manhattan, is where when his relationship with his wife ends, even as strained as that was his really last connection to humanity. You know what I mean? And so then at that point in time, it's like, fuck it, I'm out. You know what I mean?
Right. She lost it to his brother, and I even love the one thing where she gets truly pissed when she figures out her brother's dead, and she pulls all the nukes out of the silos and everything else, and the issue ends with all the nukes falling towards the Earth, and she's like, "Did I really do this? Nah."
Yeah.
Kind of felt like it though.
Yeah. It's one of those things where she's also like, should I let them know that I took all the warheads out of it, or should I let them assume that I did it at the last minute and had a change of heart, or like, she's kind of like, I'll let them assume whatever the hell they want to assume,
Right. So, I mean, with the humanity, she is, it's not even a growing ambivalence, but it's going, I need a change of scenery. That's what's going at the end here, because I do not get these people anymore. I'm no longer one of them. This is no longer my tribe. Let's see what else is out there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Right. Well,
Adam, what are your thoughts, since Todd and I have rambled on for quite a while?
Sorry about it.
You guys stole all my thoughts. So. No, it was obviously the parallels to Superman are going to be there, but in the Dr. Manhattan, and we already talked about. But yeah, it was just that she, like that. I don't agree that she lost her humanity in the sense of her sense of decency and what's right and wrong. Because if that was the case, she would have nuked before.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, once those last ties were gone, then it was like, hey, there's no need to be here anymore. And like, I guess it was also just the way they reacted to her. Like, every single person in her life like turned her back. So when she finally got fired and left the volleyball thing, her teammates, it might even been her girlfriend, was like, "Oh, well, now we have a chance to play. We can finally actually get in the spotlight, and not just be like standing behind you." And I mean, that would destroy me. I mean, that would be like, if I had something like happen with with Eddie or Clark or someone I'm in a relationship with, like an utter betrayal like that, that would make me snap and leave. And I think, and then finding out that her brother was really dead. So there was nothing keeping her there. Whereas, like we said before, Superman, he's got his parents, he's got Lois Lane, he's got Jimmy Olsen, he's got, there's reason for him to be here.
What I really enjoy, and as we're talking about this, in some ways, the story of Mara and Superman is kind of on the reverse, because you've got Superman as this alien brought up, being instilled, and finding reasons and ties to humanity and saying, this is where I belong. I may have been born somewhere else, but this is where I'm from. And then you've got Mara here of, this is where I'm from, and I don't see things to tie me. The things that tied me here are gone, so I am leaving.
Yeah. And
it's, I find that kind of interesting.
It had a really weird reaction for me too, because, I grew up in Southern California, and, when I would go back and visit, I would get extremely homesick when I got back to Utah, because you miss your family, and you miss seeing the things you see, and there's a familiarity that's there.
Yeah.
That even though Utah's my home now, I wasn't feeling it up here sometimes. And it was a couple years ago I went back. It was I think it was actually, Brian, it was the year I met you.
Okay.
When we came down there too, and I told you. You're like, what do you look like? I'm like, think of like Gay, Laurel, and Hardy.
That's what I was like. We're gonna get along just fine.
Yes. But it was that trip that I was down there, and so much had changed, and friends, got married, had kids. Like, it was a different world, and it was the first time that I went to visit my family, visit California, but I didn't feel like, oh hey, I'm going home again. It was like, I'm going to a strange place because home's back in Utah.
Yeah.
And because there was just nothing really tying me there anymore. Like, my parents are there, of course, and I love my parents. But my brothers have moved out. They're all married now and doing that kind of thing. So there wasn't anything that was keeping me there. So people are always like, "Oh, would you go back to California?" I'm like, no, because obviously, like Brian, you're there, and I have like a couple friends who still live there that we talk on a regular basis. But there's no driving force to be like, yeah, I miss this place. I need to go back and be a part of it again, because that my mindset has changed, and who I am now as a person obviously is completely different than I was 13 years ago, because we all need to grow and change. But yeah, it's that feeling out of like loneliness, like, hey, I don't belong here anymore. That's how I feel when I go back and visit California.
Well, and in my experience, I've found that I came to the realization at a certain point in time that concept of home, although it's tied to a location, it's also tied to a time frame. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so, like, you can still live in your hometown, but it's not necessarily like your home. Your childhood experiences is not the same. All your friends are not necessarily there. You can't necessarily walk down the street and do whatever. So, like, there are certain elements of home that it's tied to a time frame. And so once that time frame is over, however that's marked by either you moving out, or you maybe graduating, or somebody getting married and them moving out, or whatever, that time frame, that's part of what identifies it. So, like, it's, although I have corrected what the phrase "you can't go home again," it's actually sort of a misnomer. There is a certain amount of the truth of what you identify as being like home or childhood or whatever does have to do with the time frame in which you're there as well, as far as like if you're talking about going back to a childhood home or returning to that as well. And so in this case, in Mara's case, the time frame that she knew, where she was successful and she had her family, or she had her brother and she had her girlfriend or whatever, that time frame is over. So her home, she's in that same scenario where it's like, she can't really go back to that, So
yeah. Well,
that was deep and heavy.
I was just saying, we're going pretty well. It's been that kind of week for me.
I get you. Well, and this book is one of those interesting books it sort of reminds me of a Vonnegut book in the sense of it seems relatively simple as far as story goes. Like, it took Todd all of 5 seconds to describe the plot, but conceptually there's a fair amount of depth to it, which I think leads us to probably being in need of a drink.
Behold, we finally fulfill the second half of our title and make with the fire water.
Alcoholics transform!
We need to get these bitches drunk.
That sure smells boo!
So, Mr. Adam, what is your cocktail for this week?
Mine is called Ready, Set, Spike. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 1.5 cups of coconut milk. And then Bacardi makes these margarita frozen concentrate. So you do 1 can of that, 1 cup of Bacardi rum, 4 cups of ice cubes. You blend all that together until it's nice and frothy, and then you pour it into a glass and drink.
Yay, mixed drinks.
Well, it's kind of sounding like something like, because summer's coming to a close, this comes out, it's, fall's begun, but, you think of volleyball, you think of the beach. So I was trying to think of a good, like, beach type drink to go with that, so.
Mr. Todd, what's your cocktail?
So my cocktail, I was thinking you're watching this person that just keeps, with powers and everything, amping up, and you have these drinks with you. So this one is a combination of booze and energy drinks.
Okay.
Because that's the way it goes. So what this one has, though, it is it's got vodka, some red, blue, yellow edition, your San Pellegrino Aranciata, so that's your orange, and that's what it is. So you just take 2 ounces of vodka, 3 ounces of the yellow Red Bull, and 1 ounce of your orange San Pellegrino and a lime wheel. You just put them into a drink. You stir it around with a bar spoon with some ice cubes in it, and there you go. So it's a nice, refreshing little cooler, and we'll just call that the Super Saiyan Cooler.
There you go.
I'm sorry, what was the name of that?
Super Saiyan Cooler. It's a tie back to Dragon Ball Z. Goku that shit.
Goku that shit?
That's another Dragon
Poor
Ball
Brian.
Z.
I got nothing on Dragon Ball Z. Like, that is a big missing point in my... That and Pokemon.
In your knowledge gap.
Yeah, like...
Dude, I will say I absolutely love the Dragon Ball Z Tree of Life arc. I watched the shit out of that one. So, yeah.
Is that on, like, Netflix or Hulu or anything like that?
I have no idea. I watched that 20 years ago.
Okay, maybe I'll have to hunt that down at some point in time. Okay, so this may seem like an odd choice, but I'm going with it anyway. I'm doing a gin and tonic because I got an article on the best cocktails for athletes. So these are the lowest calorie cocktails you can have, and one of the lowest calories is a gin and tonic. It's also my go-to drink. If I go to a corporate bar or a restaurant and I don't trust the bartender to be able to make me something decent, so like a lot of times if I'm like at a concert or something like that, and I don't think the bartender can make, something fancy, I order a gin and tonic. So it is 1.5 ounces of gin and tonic water. You add the gin to a highball glass, fill with fresh ice, and top with tonic water. If you want to be fancy about it, you can squeeze the lemon and lime wedges into a drink and drop in the glass and stir. And there is your very basic gin and tonic. Does anybody else have anything they want to discuss on this book?
Be in a good headspace when you read it.
Yeah.
That's true in general of Brian Wood. When I first tried to read DMZ, the very first time, I was in the wrong headspace, and I couldn't. I reapproached it a number of months, maybe even a year or two later, and I was just digging it and absolutely loved DMZ. But you've got to be in the right frame of mind.
No, it's true. Like, there are definitely books, like, I kind of have realized that, too, because my to-be-read pile is back to a ridiculous degree. I feel like that happens about this time of year every year. I feel like what ends up happening is that there's certain books I buy at the time because I really want to read them, but then there are other books that I'm in the proper mood for it, or I kind of go on like a reading, I sort of like start reading something very sort of like a specific style or like a specific line kind of in an order, and so then some things get left on the shelf until I can kind of cycle back to sort of that headspace or that mood to be able to watch it again, kind of thing, or read it again. So I gotta get that. So, well, yeah. Cool. Do you guys want to go into final grades?
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah.
Jamie, school is never a waste of time.
Since we have 15 minutes until recess, please put down your pencils and stare at the front of the room.
It's report card time. It's report card time. It's report card time. I'm so fucking done.
God, please, no! 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 No!
So for Brian Wood, for our writer, what is your grade, Mr. Adam?
I'm going to go with an A-. He did a really good job. The book was really well written. You really get started to feel for these characters. The only thing I'm kind of docking little points for is it did kind of become funny, where it's like suddenly she's just got this new power all of a sudden, and so that just kind of stood out to me. It was still really cool, and I still enjoyed it a lot. But it just kind of felt like it was very much like let's just make her god kind of thing, which maybe that was what he was going for, but
yeah, potentially. Mr. Todd.
I give this B+, A-. I mean, this was a whole lot of fun of a sci-fi romp. So if you ever, for your Wing Commander fans out there from back in the day and whatnot, it's really reminiscent of that sort of thing. Even this author later wrote Robotech, and you can see potential elements sitting in there from that. I rather enjoyed it. It had a very, there was a beginning, middle, and end. It didn't feel like to be a lot of fact going on, so there wasn't a lot of wasted space and anything, so his pacing was well done, and there was a complete story, and it didn't, though at times what Adam was saying is like, oh, and what else is being added in here, it didn't see it needlessly extra just for the sake of it either, so he did a solid job, that's for sure.
Cool, and I'm going to go with I'll go with a B+. Same thing everybody said here. I guess I'm only going a slightly lower grade than an A because it's not quite to like Wicked and Divine status for me. So I'm kind of on my curve. I'm docking it just a little bit. For Ming Doyle and Jordi Belair, I'm guessing, and Clayton Clouse for art. And I think one of those guys, I think it's Clayton, is the actual. He's doing the. Why am I blanking on this? Lettering. What is your grade, Mr. Todd?
I can go back to a B+ again. It's solid work. It fits the story well, and even some of the flashbacks, how they did it. they had a good time of it. The backgrounds oftentimes were sparse and suggested as much as anything. So you've got the main characters going on, but the backgrounds were always really sparse and limited. But it really worked for the story, and the art serviced the story really well, and they did not seem to be in a competition or or at odds. So yeah, solid B. I enjoyed it.
Cool, Mr. Adam.
I'm gonna go with a B plus for all the same reasons that Todd said, and it was really interesting. It was really well done, and Todd's a lot smarter than me, so he said it better.
Welcome to my life, sir. And we've been friends since I was 12. I'm just used to it. And I'm gonna go with I'll go with a B plus. Like, it's a good, solid show or solid comic. Cool. So for overall grades, Mr. Adam.
A minus. I really enjoyed this. I almost wish it wasn't just a one-off, because it was the kind of book that makes me want to go see what happens next.
Yeah.
And who knows, down the road, maybe they will do that. But that being said, I mean, her story, as much as it's going to go forward, there's a lot more that she's going to be doing. I mean, she'll probably go out and create worlds or something, when that happens. As a one-shot, it does an amazing job of, telling a story succinctly, and, you can put it down when you're done with it and be satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it'd be nice to have more, not ever getting that doesn't upset me. Kind of like with American Jesus, which I'm still waiting for the fucking sequel to that. And that
right.
Because that you want to see what happens. But no, it was really well done, and I definitely want to go check out more of his work. So
cool, Mr. Todd.
I'm going to give this a B plus. I enjoy it. One of the great things. So this book came out on Image, and what you can say about Image and the nature of it is, Image means the work is writer creator owned. So they're writing it because they want to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Contractually obligated to.
Right. It's why did they put this out? Well, he had this idea for the story he wanted to get out. Now, we're all here in the world to make a buck. Don't get me wrong, but this is how he chose to spend his time and get it out. So he had you can tell the interest and the passion and whatnot he had him telling this kind of giving this story a try.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think he did a solid job, and he's experimenting with different things, and it's a fun sci-fi romp in that way. So you've got this main character of this woman, who's a volleyball player, and he's finds out that she's so much more than that, and yet she still doesn't lose who she. In that aspect of it is that she doesn't. I never feel like she sheds her gender either. So he does a good job. He does a great job writing people.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with I'll go with the B plus overall. I think generally I really liked it. It's one of those books that, like, I liked it. It was good. I would recommend it to a lot of people, but it's not one of those books of, like, you absolutely have to fucking read this right this second. There's a lot of great things in it, and if you're already a comic book fan, I think you'll enjoy it. Mm-hmm. But it's not one of those, like, hey, I'm new to comics and I want to read what some of the best of what comics have to offer. It's not quite on my list there.
No, it is. Where this falls into, it's like, oh, that Brian Wood was really good. What else by Brian should I read?
Yeah.
And I put this among the list of these are solid works.
Yeah, completely.
It's not going to be your favorite, but it is solid, and there's nothing really bad to say about it. It's a good endeavor. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, cool. Before we get into recommendations, next week we begin our month of Halloween, or October here. So we are calling it Halloween in 3D. It's our third Halloween volume. So we are doing...
We've been around that long?
We've been around 3 Halloweens. Yeah, how weird is that? So the first book is one that...
The Simpsons.
Mr. Adam would recommend to me a long time ago, called Witch Doctor, which will be next week. Followed up by Clean Room, and then we're doing Justice League Dark Volume 1, and then we're doing a book called Plastic, and then we are going to be doing what seems to become a tradition for us. We always do at least one Archie book, it seems, at Halloween time. So we are doing Jughead the Hunger, and as I think Maya pointed out to me, speaking of which, Maya will be back next week.
Yes, we miss you, Maya.
I think by next Halloween we might have Vampronica out, so we might be able to continue the streak for 4 years. We'll finish up with the Jughead the Hunger. Mr. Adam, can you give us a quick preview as to next week's book, Witch Doctor?
So I haven't read it for a very long time, but basically it's this guy. He is kind of an investigator. He knows all about monsters, and he sets out to kind of like kill them or capture them. He actually does have the service of some monsters in his employ. but it's just this really messed up, funny little book. I mean, like, in one of the issues, there's this parasite that infects babies, and the only way you can find out is if it's a baby or the parasite is to pick the baby up and shake the fuck out of it. And if it freaks out and transforms the parasite, you got a parasite. If it doesn't, you just probably killed the baby. So it's got a lot of really dark humor in it, but it's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to go back. Because I read this like back in 2007 or 8 or 9. It was the year that Scott Pilgrim came out. So it was a long time ago. So, but I remember I enjoyed it a lot. So,
for all your babysitting needs, contact Adam McDonald.
Yeah, right.
Well, cool. So that'll be next week. Some shaking baby, and then who has some recommendations they're just dying to get off their chest?
I do.
Okay.
So this movie came out. It was record this. It just came out, I believe, a month ago. It was a really small independent film by Blumhouse Productions. It's called Upgrade. This is kind of, if you would have put a symbiote in instead of like this microchip, you could have said this is like a really good Venom movie, because basically this guy, it's in the future. He and his wife are coming back from this thing, and they have self-driving cars. Something hacks the car, and they flip over. Well, when they do, all these guys get out of this car, kill the guy's wife, and paralyze him, so he's a quadriplegic. So he's given this opportunity by this like rich, like billionaire investor guy that he's got this microchip that he can implant in his neck that will basically let him walk again. It'll kind of like control his body. So he says he does it. Things are great. He's happy to be walking around again. When suddenly he starts hearing a voice in his head, and sure enough, the chip that's helping control his body has its own AI sentence and is talking to him. And I'm not going to say any more because a lot of cool stuff happens. This is one of the most violent movies I've ever seen. There's a couple scenes where I was watching it with Eddie and Clark, where all three of us were like, "Holy fuck!" Like, it's pretty brutal, but it's a lot of fun. It's really great. I saw the twist coming, and then it wasn't the twist, so that was always kind of a cool thing to happen to me. But yeah, just go out and buy it. It's amazing. It's one of the best things I've seen all year. And to see what they were able to do with just $5 million shows that you can still make an amazing movie on a very, very limited budget. So
cool. Mr. John, do you have any recommendations?
There's two things I want to recommend. So book-wise and everything, if you enjoyed this with Brian Wood, he has a 2-trade series called Starve. I've probably recommended it before. And it's The Running Man meets Iron Chef as a competition. And the art is not that dissimilar from DMZ.
Okay.
I would give it that. But so you got this live telecast where these people are in a television competition show. It's like, you must beat this gang of 40 people, and then you must also make barbecue for 100 people in 24 hours. And it kind of just goes from there. It is silly, stupid, over the top, awesome, but at the same time, this guy who's starring in it is coming back, trying to make a comeback, and he's trying to rebuild a relationship with his daughter, and his horrible ex-wife is the producer of the show, and it's over the top and yet very personal. And it does a great job. So the other thing I do want to bring up, though, the other day, it was kind of fun. So in London on the West End, Prince Harry of England has this charity or whatnot, and they were doing all proceeds of a production of Hamilton was being performed there. And at the end of it coming out, Harry saying thank you is we've got Prince Harry the Windsor grabs the microphone, stands there a moment, and then he belts out and utters the first 2 words to the song, "You Say." So for those that have seen Hamilton, realize that was Harry's grandfather, with a few greats thrown in there that was written about. So talk about a guy having a good time. Good on you, Harry. Good on you. So yeah, that was it.
Cool. And then I've been in sort of falling down a little bit of a rabbit hole of true crime TV show documentary type things. And the one I've liked the most, mainly because I felt like I had a more satisfying ending recently, it's semi-new to Netflix when we're recording this. It's called Evil Genius. And it's about a very interesting and bizarre case from, I think it's the 90s, maybe early 2000s. About a guy who walks into a bank with a bomb strapped to his chest and robs the bank, saying that the bomb will explode if he doesn't rob the bank. And then the police stop him, and then the bomb goes off. and it is sort of the backstory as to who was really responsible for what happened, and how all this went down. And it's pretty interesting. I think it's only like 4 episodes, like 4-hour long episodes, whatever. But I really, really dug it. I was also watching a show called The Keepers, which moves significantly slower, and it's about a nun in the late 60s who ends up missing and then eventually comes up murdered. And it's about the potential, like they never really prove much of anything. That's kind of the thing that frustrated me by the end of it. But it's about the potential cover up by the Catholic Church and the Baltimore Police Department and all sorts of stuff that way. But
the Catholic Church never covers anything up.
Oh no, and there's some definite obvious their standard modus operandi, because this was also before Spotlight and all that stuff. But they show them moving, knowing that a priest was being an asshole, and then they are he's molesting children and raping teenage girls. It's pretty fucked up, and they just moved him to a different place. You know what I mean? They just keep moving around and keep avoiding the problem. I know Adam's had similar experiences, at the church he grew up in. I think we just talked about that a couple weeks ago now. So that one, just because of the pacing, I didn't like quite as much, but Evil Genius I really enjoyed, and that sort of has set me down sort of a rabbit hole of Netflix true crime TV shows. So that's what I've been watching this week. Does anybody else have anything else?
Nope, I feel good.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, so that will do it for this week and this month of Sports Ball. Thank you for listening.
Sports.
And so join us next week for Halloween with Witch Doctor.
Sorry,
Bye-bye.
Dr. Demento always comes to my mind when I hear that. Witch Doctor. I told the Witch Doctor.
I wasn't in love with you. Did you see that when Weird Al got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Dr. Demento let him wear his top hat?
Oh, really?
No. Yeah,
that's cool.
An image of it. It was pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
I had a friend of mine that I work with. He's a drummer who, when Weird Al's on tour, this guy covers all of Weird Al's drummers' local gigs. He plays with a lot of local cover bands and things like that. And so my buddy Matt does that. So he went up to that ceremony, and I was like, son of a bitch, if I wasn't working, I would have gone up myself as well. You know what I mean? But anyway, so yeah. Well, cool. Listen to more Weird Al, and thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
That was a good one, actually. Yeah.
Well, Maya wasn't here to fuck it up.
Love you, Maya.
Bye.
Bye.
So that happened. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode. This band of knuckleheads will be back next week with a new episode. Until then, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr as Funny Books and Firewater, and on Twitter as @FirewaterCast. Go to funnybooksandfirewater.com for the most up-to-date information, as well as cocktail recipes from this and past episodes. Thank you for joining us. And until next week, support your local comic shop, tip your bartender well, and stay hydrated.